Hey guys, welcome back. This is History of Power Rangers Season 2, Episode 42 of my show. But this is about Episode 40 of Season 2. Now, Episode 40 in Season 2 is known as Rangers Back in Time Part 2. But before I start talking about it, I just wanted to mention, after this video we'll have two sets of 3-part episodes, and then because the next episode I'm going to be covering are 3-part episodes, and then once I get to the 42nd one we'll have we'll have like 10 more videos left because there's 52 episodes in the second season, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. Anyway, now getting into it. This is History of Power Rangers Season 2, Episode 41 of my show, but this is about, Episode 42 of my show, but this is about Episode 40 of Season 2. And Episode 40 in Season 2 is known as Part 2 in the Rangers Back in Time 2-part episode. Now, as the name of the episode states, this episode is going to carry over from where the first part left off. So if you guys remember back what happened at the end of the previous video, Zedd's Photomare monster had turned the young Rangers into the picture, and essentially he defeated them because they're trapped in the picture and stuff. Anyway, the way this episode starts off is, first what happens is Alpha is still working on the device to turn the Rangers back into their normal ages, and I'm recording a video for my channel right now. Sorry. Anyway, the Rangers are still trapped in the phonograph, and Alpha is still working on getting the scrambler finished, so you can turn the Rangers back into their normal state. And then basically what happens is the young versions of Bulk and Skull that were there when they saw the Rangers get turned into the picture, they pick it up and they decide to take it to an adult, and that's when Goldar shows up. Where they are, what, and that's when they start freaking out and they say, "Mommy," and he said that that's never been called before, and then he opens his mouth with his breath, and then Bulks tells him that, hasn't he ever heard of breath mints? And he said that he'll take that as a compliment. Oh. Now he's telling him to give him the picture before he has Photomare turn them into one as well. And then it goes into a scene where Zedd is on the palace and he's like, "With the Rangers trapped in that photograph and locked away forever, they will be unable to hinder my deeds anymore." And then he and he says that the universe will soon be mine. And then Squad's like, "Oh goody, if you get the universe, maybe we could have like a box of cookies or some That great gold goon Goldar should be back here by now. I better go check and see what's taking him so long. So he uses his visor-like eyes to look down on the earth, and he sees that Goldar is still dealing with the young versions of Vulcan's skull with the picture. And then when he sees that, he gets annoyed with them, and he's like, "You're 7 feet tall, lame brain. Just take it from them." Which is kind of funny. And anyway, and that's when Alpha shows up. Well, actually, first what happens is, with the whole reference thing, I'm just backtracking here. After Goldar told him, after he said that with the reference thing, he'll take that as a compliment, he told the young versions of Vulcan Skull to give him the, well, actually, I'm not really backtracking here, but this does really happen after that thing. And then anyway, Goldar is telling the young versions of Vulcan Skull to give him the photograph before he has Photomare turn them into pictures as well. And then that's when Alpha shows up. And then, because by this point he had already finished working on the laser stun scanner. Actually, what happens is it goes to where Alpha is in the command center with Zordon, and he tells Zordon that he's finished with creating the laser stun scanner to get the Rangers back to normal. And then Zordon tells him that's good, so he must hurry to the park to get the picture from Vulcan Skull before Goldar does. And then he teleports to the park, and that's where he shows up. And then Goldar sees him, and he's like, "Zordon's bucket of bolts!" And then basically what happens is he uses the laser stun scanner on Goldar and the Photomare monster, temporarily freezing them in place for a bit. But after they do that, Vulcan Skull get away, and but because of that, Vulcan Skull get away, and then Alpha tries to go after them because he tells them he needs that picture. And then the young version of Skull is asking Bulk if that Martian thing is still behind them. And then the young version of Bulk is saying, of course it is, because they had something it wants. And then basically what happens is they go to where Mr. Kaplan is, and they tell him the truth about what happened, but he doesn't believe them. He thinks that they're lying, which I guess is because they're troublemakers, and troublemakers sometimes tell lies. So he puts them in detention, which is gonna cause a little bit of a funny thing with the ending of this episode. Anyway, what happens is, after he puts them in detention, he tells them that he wants them to write an essay on the evils of lying, and then he says that he'll be back in there to check on them soon. And then basically what happens after that is then it goes in. Then, as the young version of Mr. Kaplan is walking down the hallway, that's when Alpha shows up, teleported to the school, and he's like, "Whoops, wrong." Wait, first Mr. Kaplan's like, "Hi," and then Alpha's like, "Whoops, wrong hallway," so he teleports again. And then Mr. Kaplan is confused by that, and and Bulkins and then Bulk and Skull are in the detention room, and then Bulkins telling Skull that the one time they're actually telling the truth, and no one believes them, which is kind of true. This is kind of a reference to what happened in the previous episode, one of the previous episodes before this, where I think it was one of the ones before they made the switch with the Rangers with the whole crying wolf thing. Anyway, basically what happens is, the Bulk's line is that he tells Skull that the one time they're actually telling the truth and no one believes them. It's not fair. It's just not fair. Which, in all honesty, it kind of isn't fair, but it's understandable because, like I said, they're troublemakers, so it makes sense that they wouldn't believe a troublemaker, even if he was telling the truth. Maybe if it was a minor troublemaker thing, but in this case, it's not with them anyway. Anyway, then Bulk sees that Skull is using a pen to draw on the picture of the Kid Rangers, drawing them with mustaches, and he says that's good, actually pretty good. And then that's when Alpha shows up, and in the detention room, and then Bulk and Skull with their young forms get scared by it, and then basically what happens is Alpha tells them that he's not gonna hurt them, and then he says that when he counts to 3, he will hand him over that picture, and he's like 3, and then he basically uses the laser stun scanner to zap them, and then basically what happens is they fall asleep, and he says it works every time, which is the first. I think it's. I just think it's something he says for this case. Anyway, then he uses the laser stun scanner to reanimate the Rangers from picture form into their normal, not into their teenage forms, but into the forms they were in before they got trapped in the picture. So they're still little kids at this point, and some of them actually have got mustaches on them because of Skull drawing on the picture, which I think is because they were still trapped in the picture when he drew on it, so it might be that it got transferred over. Oh my god. Anyway, the young Rangers are poking at Alpha, wondering what he is, and Alpha is telling him that he has to use this laser stun scanner to get them back to their normal ages so that they can be the Power Rangers in order to defeat the Photomare monster. And then they're wondering what that's about, and then in a little cutaway scene what happens is, I'm guessing because it goes to black and then it comes back, and then basically what happens is, I think he basically told them everything about that, and then he says that it's imperative that he uses the device to turn them back to their normal ages. And then one of the young Rangers, I can't really remember which one, but it's one of them. Anyway, he says that they're the Power Rangers. He tells them that they're the Power Rangers and stuff, and everything like that, and it's pretty good. And that's when the laser stun scanner wears off. Like, the stun part of the laser stun scanner wears off on the Photomare monster and Goldar, and after that, Goldar says that he's gonna get that bucket of bolts, and then Zordon contacts Alpha to tell him about the fact that the laser stun scanner is worn off, and then Alpha basically said that now does he believe them? Do they believe him and stuff? And then they must be turned back into their normal ages in order to, so then he explains to them that's why it's imperative that they have to be turned back into their normal ages, because in doing so they'll have their powers back in order to fight the Photomare monster and stuff. And then basically the young version of Tommy is saying that they'll risk it, and then the young version of Kimberly is asking if it'll hurt, but Alpha says that it won't, but in this case he does tell them that they can close their eyes if they would like to. So they do, and then he uses the laser scanner, turning them back to their normal ages. And then they're actually kind of happy that they got turned back, but in some ways they're also still happy that they got to be a kid again, regardless of the situation. Anyway, and then Zordon contacts the Rangers. And he tells them that the situation is rather critical because the Rock of Time, which then they fight the Photomare monster. Well, actually, first what happens is, before they deal with the Rock of Time, is they fight the Photomare monster and they manage to defeat it. And then Zordon is telling the Rangers that their battle is not done yet because they still got to deal with the Rock of Time, because if the Rock of Time is left unchecked, it'll destabilize the Earth's magnetic balance because of the fact that it made it spin backwards. So he tells them that in order to fix this crisis, they have to go destroy the Rock of Time in the process in order to do it. And then basically, but before he teleports them to where the Rock of Time is, he warns them that the Rock of Time is guarded by every single one of Zedd's monsters from the past. So essentially, they're going to be fighting some of the monsters that they defeated in the previous seasons again because of the monsters guarding the Rock of Time. And then Zordon sends the Rangers to deal with the Rock of Time, and then Zedd sends Goldar down to stop the Rangers from destroying it and turning time back to the way it was. And then when Tommy sees Goldar there, said that he was expecting someone tougher, but then Goldar makes some post where he says he's the greatest warrior of all, and then says like, I can't believe that Bubblehead said that. I need some real defenders down there. So he uses his staff to call back some monsters, like the dreaded Dremel monster and stuff like that. A whole bunch of other monsters that the Rangers defeated previously. And then after they deal with the monsters and Goldar, they manage to use the power cannon to destroy the Rock of Time, which essentially sets the course of the flow of the time on Earth back to the normal stage, which reverts everyone back to their normal ages. And then Zedd gets upset that he lost again to the Rangers, and basically what happens is then but before I continue and get to the end of this episode, I just want to mention something else. When the Rangers were turned back, Kimberly said it was nice being a kid again while it lasted. Because teenagers and stuff. And basically, then it goes into a scene after they had defeated Zedd and stopped the Rock of Time completely. What happens is, then it goes into the scene where they're in the school in the room where Bulk and Skull are, and then Mr. Kaplan shows up and he tells them that, are they finished with that? And they're wondering what it is, because they don't know that they were sent in there in detention for because they were turned into kids. And then Mr. Kaplan actually makes the joke about them. This seems to be where they live. He better start charging rent. And then basically, at the end, that causes a little bit of a funny joke at the end, because one of the Rangers I think it's Kimberly, she said that basically, I guess you could say that Bulk and Skull have been in detention since the third grade. And then Aisha said literally, and that's basically where the episode stops. So if you guys like this video when I post it, just please give this video the real best you guys can. And I will see you guys next time, tomorrow for the next video. So until then, guys, just like I always tell you with this series, may the power protect you always.